All right, guys. So is everyone there? Everyone, please type in the message whether you can hear it or not, hear me or not. Let me know through your messages. Yes, okay. And please reply orally also so that I can also know I can hear you or not. You are audible or not.
Yes, I am audible.
Okay. All right, all right, all right. All right, people. Very good morning to all of you. And I believe everyone is present. All right. So today we are going to discuss this new topic that is para summary. Okay? No problem? Everyone
Can
can
you
hear
please
me?
share the screen, sir?
Okay, okay. Just a moment. Just a moment. Just a moment. Okay. Yeah. So is the screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. And everyone can listen to me. Everyone can hear me.
Yes, sir.
All right. Perfect. So let's start this. All right. Just a moment, man. It's just taking a bit of time. Okay. All right. All right. Okay.
Can you please share this PPT on the group?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can you, is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Just a moment. Hmm. I'm trying to record this lecture. Okay.
Mhm.
That is what
Yes,
I'm
sir.
trying to do. So I just want to see if it is being recorded properly or not. Okay. So just bear with me. All right, people. So everyone can hear me? Now let's begin the session. All right. Okay. So let me minimize this. Okay. So what are we going to discuss in this session? We are going to discuss this new topic, that is para summary, right? Okay, so let's move to the next slide. And this is very important in your verbal ability section because probably 2 questions and sometimes 3 questions are being asked from para summary question. So let us see what exactly is a para summary question, how do we tackle it, and how do we solve it. Okay, so let's move to this slide. And first of all, when we are talking about para summary, let us understand what a paragraph is. What is the composition of a paragraph? So the topic is a structure of a paragraph. How a paragraph is formed, what is the structure of a paragraph? Okay, what are the constituent elements of a paragraph? So the first thing it says is unity. Okay, unity. And what does it mean? It means introduction of an idea. So whenever you are writing a paragraph, the first thing you do is you introduce the idea. Introduce the idea. And why does it say unity? Because the rest of the statements which will follow this idea, they will be connected to this idea, right? So first thing you mention in a paragraph is you introduce an idea, right? And then the statements which will follow that statement, which is mentioning the idea, all those statements, they must be in unity with the idea. Got it? No problem? Now the second thing which we have is order. What does it say? The way supporting statements are organized and elaborated. So suppose this is a paragraph, you have mentioned the idea in the first place, and then you are mentioning further statements. Okay. So the way in which these statements are organized and elaborated, that is called the order. That is called the order of the paragraph. No problem? And then we come to the completion part. And the completion part is the conclusion of the idea. So you have mentioned the idea. Now you have mentioned statements. You have written down statements. Okay. You have organized and elaborated the statements in a logical fashion. And now is the time to put the conclusion. Right. So how is a paragraph arranged? So first, an idea will be introduced, right? And then there will be supporting statements, which will be organized and elaborated based on some kind of a logic, and that should be united to the idea. And then at last, the writer will mention the conclusion of the passage. All right. No problem. Here there is a slight error which says conclusion of the idea. It is not exactly the conclusion of the idea, but it is the conclusion of the paragraph. So no confusion till here. Okay. So let's move to the third slide, which gives you an example paragraph. Okay. So through this example paragraph, we will try to understand the structure of a paragraph based on 3 parameters, which are unity, okay, and then the elaboration part, okay, and then we have the conclusion part, right? No issues? So let us go through this paragraph and let us see how this paragraph has been arranged. So let me explain this paragraph to you. What does it say? Why is that the world's largest democracy has yet to produce a world-class public policy institution? So the first sentence of the paragraph, what does it do? It is talking about the world's largest democracy. World's largest democracy, that is, it is talking about India.
India.
And in which context? It is asking a question. Why it has yet to produce a world-class public policy institution. So the writer is talking about India, and the writer is saying that till now, India has not produced any world-class public policy institution. And what is the reason behind this? Okay, so you have got the idea. The writer is talking about India in the context of public policy institutions. And in this passage, the writer is talking why is it that India could not produce such a world-class public policy institution. Let's look at the next statement, which says the United States and Europe boast of institutions such as John F. Kennedy School of Government and the London School of Economics, which train leaders who shape not only national but global governance. Now, in the second statement, what has the writer done? The writer has given you an example. Writer has given you the example of United States and Europe. And these boast of institutions such as the John F. Kennedy School of Government, this is one institute, the London School of Economics, this is the second institute. And this institute, what do these institutes do? They shape not only national but global governance agendas. Right? So the purpose of the second statement is the writer has given you some example to support his idea. Yet, India, with its complex democratic structure and urgent developmental challenges, sends its finest to be trained abroad. What does the next statement, or what purpose does the next statement solve? In the next statement, writer has come again to India. And what information are we getting from this statement? That India has a complex democratic structure. India has urgent developmental challenges. And still, India sends its finest brains to be trained abroad. Okay? Now let's look at the last statement which the writer has put here. This is not for lack of policy schools. India has many, but it has to do with the structure of India's political and institutional landscape. So see what the writer is doing here in the right sentence. The writer is giving you the reason why India doesn't have a world-class public policy institution. This means what the writer is doing, the writer is concluding it by giving you the reason. And what reason the writer has given us? The writer says this is not for lack of public policy schools. This means India has a lot of public policy schools, okay, or policy schools. India has many. So it has not to do something with the number, but it has to do with the structure of India's political and institutional landscape. This means the structure of India's political and institutional scenario. Right? So the writer started with the question. The writer gave you the idea. What are we going to talk about? The writer gave you example of United States and United States and Europe. Okay. Now the writer came back to India, and the writer mentioned what are the agencies for India and what is the reason behind not having world-class public policy institutions. Everyone got it?
Yes.
Right? Okay. I believe everyone can hear me. Now we have another paragraph. Okay, so let me check the... Okay, so it's clear for everyone. Now let's move to another paragraph. This is also also the paragraph to show the structure of the paragraph, how a structure is formed. Okay, so it's a different paragraph, but we will evaluate this paragraph on the same parameters: unity, okay, order, and conclusion. So let's look at the first sentence. What does it say? The 2024 Conference of Parties COP29 ends in Baku, Azerbaijan today. So the writer mentions a fact here that COP29 ends in Baku. As a global voice for developing countries, India will push for ambitious climate mitigation financing from developed nations. So, in the first sentence, the writer gave you the fact. And now, I'm sorry.
चलिए चलिए चलिए
Okay. As a global voice for developing countries, now India, in which role? in the role of global voice for developing countries. What will India do? India will push for ambitious climate mitigation financing, okay, from developed nations. So India will be asking the developed nations to finance for finances. Why? To mitigate the climate crisis through which we are going, right? The climate crisis. So the writer has cleared the idea, or the writer has cleared the agenda about which this paragraph is going to talk about. The paragraph will talk about India's role as the leader of developing countries in what? In negotiating and pushing for ambitious climate mitigation finance from developed nations. Okay, let's look at the next sentence. At the same time, pollutants in our air, water, and land continue to pose grave health risks. This statement, what is the purpose of this statement? Writer is now um, writer is now focusing on India. That in India, when India is asking for finance from developed nations for this climate mitigation thing, okay, at the same time, what is happening in India? Pollutants in our air, water, and land, they are continuing to pose grave health risks, right? According to the Emissions Gap Report 2024 from United Nations Environment Programme, India has seen over 6% more greenhouse gas emissions than the previous year. What is the purpose of this sentence? This sentence has quoted us some fact. And what is the purpose of this fact, which has been quoted here? To substantiate the claim which is made in the previous sentence that India has grave health risks due to pollution. Right. These two examples show that India is at a critical juncture in its environmental and public health journey. So writer has concluded it. So how did the writer start? The writer started by giving you a fact. Then the writer told us what role is India playing for developing nations as a leader, and what is it negotiating for? It is negotiating for ambitious climate mitigation financing, means huge climate mitigation finance from the developed nations. Then the writer focused on India. It said that India is looking at grave health risks. Then the writer again quoted us a fact. And the purpose of this fact was to substantiate, to justify the claim which has been made in this sentence, right? And then the writer concludes by saying that India is at a critical juncture in its environment and public health journey. So has everyone got it? What is the structure of a paragraph and how do we form a paragraph? Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Right? Now, when we were talking about the structure of a paragraph, okay, we got through this word, okay? What? Idea. Now we already know what a paragraph looks like, how is a paragraph constructed. Now let us look at exactly what an idea is, what is the meaning of an idea, and what exactly idea is in a paragraph, right? So let's come to this question, what is an idea, right? So what does the dictionary say? What is the meaning of an idea? The idea is a thought or suggestion about a possible course of action, right? So suppose that we have to take some action regarding some kind of a situation or some kind of a task. In order to complete the task, we have to take some action, right? So what is idea? Idea is a thought or a suggestion. So whatever action we are going to take, suppose that there are three actions, or the action is divided into three steps, 1, 2, 3. Okay, what should be the steps? The suggestion about these steps is idea, or the thought about these steps is the idea. And so here, the idea tells this meaning. This meaning is of idea when idea is working as a noun. Idea can also work as an adjective. Sorry. And the idea, when you say the idea, what does it mean? It means the aim or the purpose. Like the idea is to educate the poor children. This means the aim is to educate the poor children, or the purpose is to educate the poor children. So similarly, when we write a paragraph, okay, we write a paragraph with an aim. Okay, we don't write a paragraph aimlessly. When we write a paragraph, we have a purpose, right? What is the purpose? To give a message to the reader. Whoever is reading that paragraph should get the idea, should get my suggestion, should get my message. And that is the idea of the paragraph. Is it clear what an idea is? Idea is a thought or a suggestion about a possible course of action, what actions can be taken to solve a problem, or the idea is the aim or purpose. So when we write a paragraph, there must be some aim of the paragraph. We must be giving some message to the reader. That message, that purpose, that aim is the idea. Right? Till now it is clear? Okay. Now, how is an idea different from a fact? So see, facts, this can be justified. This can be proved in the laboratories. This can be proved by theories. But idea, this cannot be proved in a laboratory. And fact will be same for everyone. Fact will be same for everyone. But an idea, okay? An idea is person specific. Person specific.
An idea
Right?
can be said as a fact also.
An idea cannot be said as a fact because if you quote a fact, see, why do we quote facts? Why do we give facts? In order to support our idea,
Yes.
right? Any idea which you have, in order to support that idea, you give facts. Or suppose that your opposition has an idea, so in in order to debunk that idea, you quote facts, right? So these are the purpose of facts. What is the purpose of a fact? To support an idea or to debunk an idea. All right?
Yes, sir.
No problem. Now this concept will be more clear through examples. So let me come to the example. Okay? So here's a short paragraph. Let me explain it to you and then we'll see what the idea of this paragraph is. Right? So this very first sentence, it says, English ivy betrays its poor reputation as a nuisance by its unparalleled ability to provide shade. So clearly, we are talking about some kind of a creeper whose name is English ivy. And what does English ivy do? English ivy betrays its poor reputation. Now, this phrase can become a bit trickier for you. Betraying poor reputation. What does it say? Betray poor reputation. This means what? This means this plant has a poor reputation and this plant is betraying its poor reputation. This means what? It is making its reputation good, right? Is this phrase clear to all of you?
No, sir.
People, I'm waiting for your response. Is it clear?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
Okay. So let me try to give you another example. So suppose here is some person A, okay, and A's reputation is he is a very poor student. Okay, he barely passes. So one day what happens that A gets 90% marks. Now his reputation as a poor student, is that reputation still valid? No, because he secured 90% marks, so now his reputation is of a good student. So when A scored 90% marks, he betrayed his reputation as a poor student. Now, are you getting it? Betraying the reputation. Have you got it? So if you betray your poor reputation, then your reputation becomes good. And if you betray your good reputation, your reputation will become poor. Got it? People, is it
Yes.
clear?
Yes, sir.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
So here we are talking about some kind of a creeper plant which had poor reputation, and this creeper plant betrayed its poor reputation. How? And it had a poor reputation as a nuisance. Nuisance means something which has no practical purpose, something which is a kind of a scrap, something which is not useful. So English ivy betrays its poor reputation as a nuisance. How? By its unparalleled ability to provide shade. What does the writer say here? That English ivy had a poor reputation as a nuisance, but it betrayed its poor reputation. How? Because it provides shade. It has the ability to provide shade. Right? That is the first sentence. So clearly we are going to talk about English ivy here in this paragraph. By seamlessly covering the exterior of a building, it works as a natural insulator, blocking the sun and decreasing air conditioning costs. What does the writer no, what does the writer uh, is saying? What does the writer say from this statement? The writer gives us the information that it covers the exterior of a building seamlessly without any interruption. It works as a natural insulator, blocks the sun, and hence the air conditioning costs are decreased. So from this sentence, writer has told us first advantage of or one advantage of English ivy. This means big savings for both building tenants and homeowners alike. So clearly, if the air conditioning costs are going to decrease, if air conditioning costs are decreasing, so this is a win-win situation for both the building tenants or the homeowners. And it can happen quickly too. So what can happen quickly? Let's look. Under the proper conditions established, English ivy can grow to cover an area of roughly 500 square feet per year. So through this sentence, writer is quoting us a fact, the growth rate of English ivy. Okay, and what is the growth rate? 500 square feet per year. Given that most homes have a roof measuring roughly 2000 square feet, ivy-friendly homeowners can rest assured that their roofs will be completely covered in about 4 years. So a very simple sentence that roughly the area of the roofs is 2000 square feet and the growth rate is 500 square feet per year. So it will approximately take 4 years to entirely cover the roof. Now, when considering growth rates of newly planted ivy, just remember the old adage. What? Means just remember the old saying. And what is the old saying? First year it sleeps, second year it creeps, third year it leaps. Now this old saying, this is true for human babies. For whom is it true? Human babies. Right? So first year they sleep, second year they start creeping, and third year they start leaping. And what does it mean for English ivy? That first year the growth will be a bit slow, second year it will grow more, and third year it will be flourishing. For English ivy, this is especially true. I hope all of you have understood this paragraph, right? No problem understanding the paragraph, right? Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
now look at the sentences. Look at this first sentence. In the first sentence, writer says that English ivy is not a nuisance because it has unparalleled ability to provide shade, right? And rest all the sentences, writer is quoting us some facts. Here, writer says that it covers the exterior of a building without any hindrance, without any hurdle. Therefore, it works as a natural insulator, blocking the sun, decreasing air conditioning costs. Now, this is a fact. Anyone who will write this sentence, anyone who will, anyone if writes about English ivy, he will write the same thing. That if they cover the exterior of a building, they will definitely work as a natural insulator. They will definitely block the sun. Air conditioning costs will decrease. So what is this sentence? This is a fact. Now, this means big savings for both building tenants and homeowners alike. This is also a fact. If the air conditioning costs are decreasing, this means both homeowners and tenants will have profit. And it can happen quickly too. And then the writer is giving us more facts about the growth rate and in what time the roof will be completely covered, right? So in the entire paragraph, what has the writer done? The writer has quoted us facts. And why has the writer quoted these facts? Because writer wanted to prove his idea. And what is writer's idea? Look, I'm writing at the bottom. Writer's idea is English ivy is useful, right? English ivy is Useful. Why is it useful? Because it provides shade. Has everyone got it? Guys, is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now see, I told you that an idea is person specific. From it can change from person to person. It can change from person to person. In this paragraph, the writer says that English highway is useful. Why? He has quoted some facts that it works as an insulator, it decreases the air conditioning cost. But if I have to write the same thing, okay, I will quote these facts. I will say that, okay, the air conditioning costs are decreasing, but for me, English ivy is still a nuisance. Why? Because I will give my reasons. I will say that it attracts lot of insects. Every 3 or 4 months, I have to call the gardener to trim it. Okay, otherwise it grows. So for me, it is still a nuisance, even though it decreases the air conditioning cost. But considering this fact that it attracts lots of insects and every 3 or 4 months I have to call the gardener, I still consider English ivy as a nuisance. So see, the writer told that English ivy is useful. But when I am writing the same thing, when I am talking about English ivy, I agree with all these facts, but still I say that it is a nuisance. So idea changed. Now, is it clear what an idea of the paragraph is? Okay, no problem. So, let me give you another example. Let's look at another paragraph. In the God Delusion, Richard Dawkins talks about our inherent psychological tendency. What is this writer talking about in this book? Inherent psychological tendency towards what? Towards logical fallacies. Towards logical fallacies. So, this gentleman, Richard Dawkins, he may be a writer, okay, or he may be a director of a movie. God Delusion, it may be a book or it may be a movie. Okay, so in this thing, the writer or the director, Richard Dawkins, is talking about inherent psychological tendency towards what? Logical fallacies. So the writer is trying to say that everyone has some kind of a inbuilt psychological tendency to commit some sort of a logical miscalculation, right? He references cargo cults. This means this writer, he gives the example of cargo cults. And what are cargo cults? Tribes that form superstitious beliefs around the arrival of US soldiers upon their islands. Okay? They believed that communicating on the radio and marching in unison were all rituals that brought precious gifts from the heavens in the form of supplies that came in by airplane to the island. Okay, so what is the writer talking about? Writer is talking about some kind of tribes, okay, and very primitive tribes who have not seen any modern gadgets. Leave modern gadgets, they might not have even seen a bullock cart. So when they see the arrival of US soldiers upon their islands, they see the soldiers communicating on the radio, okay, marching in unison. So what do they think? What do the tribals think? They think that these are all rituals, because of which precious gifts are sent from the heavens in the form of supplies, which come by airplane. They saw what to them looked like strange ceremonial dancing when the soldiers were marching. And their logic was that this was a ritual to be performed to please the gods, who then it should be brought goods beyond their wildest dreams. They saw that A came before B and made the logical fallacy that A caused B. So these tribal people, they saw all the soldiers, okay, uh, marching, communicating on the radio, and after that, the supplies came. So what did they think? They thought that the soldiers are doing some kind of rituals, and because of the rituals, the gods will become happy and they will send the supplies. So they saw that A came before B, and they made a logical fallacy that A, the soldiers, the marching of the soldiers and the communicating of the soldiers on the radio, that was the ritual because of which step B happened. So that was clearly a logical miscalculation. That was not the case. Now let's look at the second part, the second paragraph. Genus Homo, this means the Homo sapiens, have possessed logical reasoning skills for millennia. However, they have not always possessed the knowledge upon which to base them. What information are we getting from this first sentence? The writer is telling us that Homo sapiens had reasoning skills, logical reasoning skills for thousands of years, but they did not have the knowledge upon which they could base that logic. Logic works when based in knowledge. See, and this is an evolutionary advantage. So, what is the writer telling us here? That logic works when based in knowledge. Your logic will work when you have knowledge to base that logic. Writer gives us an example. When our ancestors saw the prints of an animal in the sand, they had the capacity of understanding that an animal had been there. And this was reasoning based on knowledge. We knew what kind of prints a certain animal would make, and we could deduce from seeing the print which direction the animal was going in. So here the writer is talking about our ancestors who had the knowledge of wildlife. Okay, so that is why when they saw the print of any animal, they could deduce which animal was there and in which direction was it going, right? So they had the knowledge of the wildlife, and that is why their logic could work beneficially for them. And this was useful in both hunting and avoiding predators. So since our ancestors had the knowledge of wildlife, that is why they could deduce which animal was there and in which direction was it going on, and they could save themselves from those predators, or they could hunt them, right? So if we look at these two paragraphs, the first paragraph and the second paragraph, here the writer has given us the idea that everyone has inherent psychological tendency to commit a logical miscalculation. That is the first idea which the writer presented to us. And then we have one more idea in the second sentence. What does it say? Logic works when based in knowledge. So these two ideas we have got, and see how beautifully the writer has paraphrased both the ideas. Logic is a powerful tool when combined with knowledge, but without it, it can misfire and can lead one to believe things that are unreasonable and often harmful. So the writer has paraphrased the ideas and he has concluded the paragraph. Is it clear, guys? Right? No problem?
No, sir.
All right. Now, what have we done? We have seen the structure of a paragraph, how a paragraph is constructed. Okay. And we have also got what an idea is. If a paragraph is there, how can we find the idea of the paragraph? These are the things which we have understood. Now, let us come to this thing, which is now the meaning of summary, right? Ultimately, what are we studying here? We are studying para summary. So we must also know what exactly this word summary means. Okay. So what is a summary? It says a brief statement of the main points of something. Okay. So what do you have to focus on? Main points, right? Okay. Now, when summary is used as an adjective, okay, so it says not including unnecessary details or formalities. So in summary, so we say in summary, what does happen? Unnecessary details or formalities are not included. So we have got two things here, what to include and what to exclude, what to not include. Okay, so what do we have? What do we include? We include main points, right? And what do we exclude? What do we exclude when we summarize something? Unnecessary details, right? and formalities, right? So these are the two things which we have to remove. Now, when we talk about main points, so what is the main point of a paragraph? What is the main point of a paragraph? Main point of a paragraph is the message which the writer is trying to convey to us. Main point of the paragraph is the purpose for which the writer has penned down the paragraph, for which the writer has written the paragraph. Got it? Got it? So, what does it boil down to? How do we conclude it? So, main point is the idea, right? Got it? So, what was required to solve a para summary question? First, you need to understand what a paragraph is, what the structure of a paragraph is. Then you need to know what an idea is, because in summary, what do we include? We include the ideas of any paragraph. Got it? No problem. So now let's come to this slide, which tells us how to solve a para summary question. Okay, so the first step towards solving any para summary question is first you have to read and understand the paragraph. Okay, once you have read and understood the paragraph, okay, just a moment, guys. Let me connect the battery. I'm sorry, let me connect the charger, not the battery. Okay. All right, all right. Just a moment, guys. All right, so it's done. We have connected the charger. All right, no problem. Okay. So what is the first step which we have to follow? We have to read and understand the paragraph. And then what do we have to do? The second step is try finding the idea or the purpose of the paragraph. What idea has the writer mentioned in the paragraph, or what is the purpose of the paragraph? What message is the writer trying to give it to you? Zero in on these things. Okay. Now what is left? Now we will come to the options. Read the options, understand them. The fourth step is eliminate the wrong ones. Now, when I say the wrong ones, how will you find that which option is wrong one? Okay, so one which is not mentioning the idea. Okay, not mentioning the idea is the first thing. Now, what can the question setter do? The question setter can give additional ideas. Okay, additional ideas. We have to also focus on that additional ideas should not be mentioned. What else can the question setter do? He can just give part of the idea, part of the idea. He can give you false idea, false claim. All right. Or he will not give you the idea. He will just quote the facts. Right. So all these things which we have to focus on, that the best option will be one which contains the proper idea. Okay, so no additional ideas, no partial ideas, and no false ideas or false claims. And if just facts are quoted, this means that idea is missed. And so once you have eliminated the wrong options, then you have to evaluate the remaining options. Okay. Now, these are the steps I have briefly told you exactly how to go ahead with how to attempt a para summary question. Okay. Now, what I will do is I will give you some examples. From examples, I will try to show you exactly how do we solve a para summary question. Okay. So just a moment. Yeah. Right. So see, here, this is the first question. Okay. 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 Probably it's not working. So, all right.
Enable editing.
Yeah. Thank you. Let me see if we can do that. Yes. Perfect. Thanks, man. Yeah. So now, this is a previous year question which has been asked. Okay. Let me explain this first question for you, and then I will ask you to do it yourself. All right. So let's look at this paragraph. It does seem to me that the job of comedy is to offend or have the potential to offend, and it cannot be drained of that potential. Rowan Atkinson said of cancel culture. So from the very first sentence, what idea are we getting? Like, what is the writer trying to talk about? So the writer is trying to talk about comedy, the potential of comedy, right? No problem. And then what? Writer is talking something about cancel culture. Cancel culture. No problem. What does it say? Writer says that according to him, the job of comedy is to offend or have the potential to offend. And it cannot be drained of that potential. This means the potential to offend, you cannot take out this potential from any comedy, right? And what is cancel culture? The culture which says that this joke is not appropriate, it should be removed, or it should be cancelled, or you should not joke in this way, or you should not do this. That is cancel culture. Let's look at how the passage is progressing. Every joke has a victim. That's the definition of a joke. Someone or something or an idea is made to look ridiculous. Now, the writer is giving us the quality of a joke. Okay, so every joke has got to be, every joke has to have a victim. That is the definition of a joke. Something must be ridiculed about, something must be joked about. Okay, and anything on which we make a joke, that will be the victim of the joke. The Netflix star continued. I think you have got to be very, very careful about saying what you are allowed to make jokes about. You have always got to kick up. Really? Okay. So the writer is giving us a suggestion that one should be very careful when you say that you are, sorry, here there must be one more word. You are not allowed to make jokes about. Okay? Or you are allowed to make jokes about. So the writer says that whenever you are trying to put a caveat, or whenever you are trying to put a condition that on these things jokes should not be made, or on only these things, or on only on these topics jokes can be made, then you have to be very, very careful. He added, there are lots of extremely smug and self-satisfied people in what would be deemed lower down in society who also deserve to be pulled up. In a proper free society, you should be allowed to make jokes about absolutely anything. So, what idea is the writer uh, giving us? That if it is a proper free society, one should be allowed to make jokes about anything. Look at the previous sentence. It says, there are lots of extremely smug and self-satisfied people in what would be deemed lower down in society. So if you look at the lower strata of the society, this means the poor and the marginalized, we generally have a feeling of sympathy. We have a feeling of sympathy towards them. Okay. So if you make jokes, if you make jokes and the victim is that poor, downtrodden, or marginalized person, then people consider that your joke is not in good taste. You should not joke about a poor man or the suffering of a poor man. Okay. But the writer is telling us that there can be a smug and self-satisfied people. A smug means not good people. Okay. The people who are not good. Okay. Rotten people and self-satisfied people. So the writer says that even in the poor sections of the society, even in the marginalized section of the society, there are rotten people, there are smug people, and we should joke about them. We should pull them up. Okay, that they should also be ridiculed, right? And writer concludes by saying that in a proper free society, you should be allowed to make jokes about absolutely everything. All right. So see, what has the writer spoken about? What has the writer spoken about? Okay, so clearly the writer spoke about jokes. Okay, what are the purpose of jokes? Plus, the writer spoke about cancel culture. Okay, and the writer's idea is one should be free to make jokes about anything. If it is a proper free society, one could joke about anything. So there should not be any cancel culture in a proper free society. That is the idea of the passage. Now let's go ahead and let's look at the options. Okay. So the first option is cancel culture does not understand the role and duty of comedians, which is to deride and mock everyone. What is the option telling us? That cancel culture does not understand the role and duty of comedians. So have we spoken about the role and duty of comedians in this paragraph? Perhaps no.
No,
Okay.
sir.
And to deride means to criticize, to ridicule and mock everyone.
The
And
cancel culture means, sir?
cancel culture means the culture which says that you are not allowed to make joke about this thing. You are not able to, you should not joke about this thing. You should not joke about that thing. That is this, that is that. So when someone says that you are not allowed to make joke on this thing, then that is a culture. Cancel culture. Why? Because the writer says that in a free society, everyone should be able to make jokes about anything. All right, no problem.
Yes, sir.
All right. And the focus of the writer is not cancel culture. The focus of the writer is jokes. Okay, so the writer has not talked about role and duty of comedians. Plus, the writer has not told us, the writer has not given this information that cancel culture doesn't understand anything. It has just said that cancel culture tells you what? That you are not allowed to make on this subject. What does cancel culture understand or what does it not understand? That has not been discussed, right? Let's look at sentence number 2. Every joke needs a victim, and one needs to include people from lower down the society and not just the upper class. Okay, so every joke needs a victim is a part of the idea which the writer has put forward. Writer has also given us information that there should be jokes on poor people also, but that is just an example. Right? That is just an example to substantiate his claim, to justify his claim that one should be able to make jokes about anything. And poor people are just one example of anything. Writer may have given us example of joking on women or joking on physically challenged people. Okay? Are you getting my point? So every joke needs a victim. So far, the idea is true. But when it says that one needs to include people from lower down, writer just gave an example. Writer is not particular that we should make jokes about poor people only and not just the upper class. Are you getting? That was just for the sake of example. Let's look at option 3. All jokes target someone, and one should be able to joke about anyone in the society, which is inconsistent with cancel culture. So let's look. All jokes target someone. This means all jokes have a victim. First part of the idea is there. And one should be able to joke about anyone in the society. The second part of the idea is also there. And these things, all jokes target someone, and one should be able to joke about anyone in the society. This is what? This is inconsistent with cancel culture. Cancel culture says that you cannot joke about anything and everything. Right? So far, this is the best summary. Let's look at option number 4. Victims of jokes must not only be politicians and royalty, but also arrogant people from lower classes should be mentioned by comedians. So now, this was just an example given by the writer. So this thing doesn't mention any idea, what idea the writer was putting forward. Is this example clear to all of you? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Clear?
sir.
So what shall be the answer of this question? 3, right? No problem?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. Now let's move to the second example. This is the last example from, okay. And in the next session, probably we'll do some questions. So first, let's go through this paragraph. Sorry. Tamsin Blanchard, curator of Fashion Open Studio, an initiative by a campaign group showcasing the work of ethical designers, says, "We are all drawn to an exquisite piece of embroidery, a colorful textile, or even a style of dressing that might have originated from another heritage." So this gentleman, who is the curator, do you understand what a curator is? Okay. Today, someone has sent a message. Let me see what exactly. Sir, can you? Okay. All right. So see what a curator is. So we watch cricket and we know there are pitch curators who very carefully take care of a pitch. They make a pitch and they take care of a pitch. Okay, and they can very carefully modify the pitch also. Similarly, there are curators for arts, what do I say, artworks also. Okay, suppose that there's a very old painting which is 500 years old or 300 years old, so definitely it will go under some kind of a decay or depreciation. So it is the curator's job to look after that and make sure that the decay is prolonged, right? The life of the artwork is prolonged. So this curator of a Fashion Open Studio, an initiative by a campaign group showcasing the work of ethical designers, says, so what does this gentleman say? That everyone is attracted, everyone is drawn to an exquisite piece of embroidery, a colorful textile, or even a style of dressing that might have originated from another heritage, right? But this magpie mentality, where all of culture and history is up for grabs as inspiration, has accelerated since the proliferation of social media. Now, what does the writer say? That social media proliferation, this means the growth of social media. What did it result into? Now, because of the growth of social media, every culture and history is available for people to take. Okay, so any design belonging to any culture, any shape or anything belonging to any culture, any embroidery pattern, any way of color belonging to any culture, okay, people can grab that. Okay, and people can grab that, people can use that, and people can turn that inspiration. So when people take a design pattern, people take a design pattern from any other culture and they use that design pattern, what do they say? They do not say that we have copied it. What do they say? They say that we are inspired by this, right? Where once a fashion student might research the history and traditions of a particular item of clothing with care and respect, we now have a world where images are lifted from image libraries without a care for their cultural significance. What concern is the writer putting forward? That when social media was not there, a fashion student had to do a lot of research. Okay, the history and traditions of a particular item of clothing. But now, what has happened? We can pick any image from image libraries without any care for their cultural significance. So the care for cultural significance is gone in this era of social media. It is easier than ever to steal a motif or a craft technique and transfer it onto a piece of clothing that is either mass produced or appears on a runway without credit or compensation to their original communities. Now, the writer says, how is the writer concluding? That it's very easy to steal a design or a motif or a technique, and then you can use it on a piece of clothing. You can mass produce it, you can sell it without giving any credit or without compensating the original communities. So what is the concern of the writer? The writer is concerned about artworks, okay, art patterns, designs, color styles, the style of dressing, all these things which are being copied because of social media, right? And they are being copied, they are being used, someone else is getting benefit, and the original community is getting no credit for that. So the writer is concerned about that, and that is the point, that is the purpose of writing this passage. Got it, people? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So now let's look at the options. Okay. The first option is copying an embroidery design or pattern of textile from native communities who own them is tantamount to stealing and they need to be compensated. Copying an embroidery design is similar to stealing, okay? And they need to be compensated. Now tell me, okay, so far, some part of the idea is there. What the writer is trying to explain, what is the purpose of the writer, some part is there. Has the writer anywhere suggested that the original communities should be compensated? The writer has just mentioned that they are not given credit or they are not compensated. The writer has not suggested anything what needs to be done. Okay, but still, let's keep that option for a while. Let's keep that in our basket, in our kitty. Let's look at option number 2. Cultural collaboration is the need of the hour. Beautiful design ideas of indigenous people need to be showcased and shared worldwide. So look at the second part of the sentence. Has the writer suggested that beautiful design of indigenous people, indigenous communities need to be showcased and shared worldwide? Writer has not suggested it, right? Am I right? And writer has not even suggested that cultural collaboration is the need of art. This means that people from different communities, from community A and B, should come together and there should be some collaborative efforts. Has the writer suggested it?
No, sir.
No. So
No, sir.
this is also this is clearly rejected. Let's look at option number 3.
Reflected
Taking
intention.
fashion ideas from any cultural group without their consent is a form of appropriation without giving due credit, compensation, and respect. So, taking fashion ideas from any cultural group without their consent, this is one part of the idea, and this is a form of appropriation. Appropriating means like you are justifying that it is true. And this is appropriation without you don't give due credit or compensation and respect. Right? So, so far, this idea contains everything, and it is not suggesting that a compensation should be made or credit should be made. It is just giving the concern of the writer that credit is not given. Writer has not suggested that credit should be given or compensation should be given or not. Got the point?
Yes, sir.
Let's look at option number 4 also. Media has encouraged mass production. Now, who has encouraged mass production? That we don't know. Images are copied effortlessly without care or concern for the interests of ethnic communities. Now, interest of ethnic communities has not been spoken about in the passage. Images are copied effortlessly, that we know, but it's not only images, it's okay, even if it is images, they are copied effortlessly without care or concern for the interest of ethnic communities. And media has encouraged mass production. So we were talking about social media, not this media in particular. So evaluating all these options, what do you think that option number 3 mentions the summarizes the paragraph
Summarize the
appropriately.
paragraph.
It doesn't suggest, the writer is also not suggesting, and the option is also not suggesting. Okay, and the concern of writer is that fashion ideas from the cultural groups are taken without any due credit or compensation and respect. You got the point?
Yes, sir.
All right, no problem. Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right. So I believe this lesson, this session should be will be all now. Okay, if you have any concern, any queries, anything, you can share it. You can ask me. Any problem?
No, sir.
No,
No
sir.
problem. All right. So shall I end the session here?
So can you please share the questions?
Yeah, I will share the questions with you.
Yeah.
You will get the questions. That's not an issue. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right, people. Okay. All right, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.